Hello and welcome to this video on income elasticity of demand. In this video, we're going to look at what it means, we're going to look at how we calculate it, and then finally the result tells us the difference between normal and inferior goods. So let's start off. What is meant by income elasticity of demand? Well, income elasticity of demand measures the responsiveness of demand to changes in income. So in other words, if incomes change, what will be the change in the level of demand? Will it go up? Will it go down? And by how much? And we know this if we know the coefficient of the income elasticity of demand. And we can calculate that coefficient through the following formula. The percentage change in quantity demanded over the percentage change in income. And here you'll notice one little thing is that income is indicated by a Y. Don't freak out about that at all. It's just the letter I in economics we sometimes use to illustrate other things. It looks a bit like a 1. So here we just use Y to illustrate income. So we do need to know percentage change formula, change over original times 100 to perform these calculations. A good way to remember demand over income is DIY, like do it yourself. When you're building furniture at home, DIY, D on the top, demand, and Y on the bottom, income. Again, we can use this sort of triangle to calculate bits that we're not sure of. So if we know the income elasticity of demand and we know the percentage change in income, if we multiply the two of them together, then we can work out what is the percentage change in quantity demanded. So let's have a look at an example. On average, people's incomes rise by £1,000 from £22,000. And as a result, car showrooms see their car sales increase from 400 to 500. What would be the income elasticity of demand for cars here? How is the demand for cars affected by changes in income? And is it an elastic response, a big change in demand, or is it an inelastic response, not much of a change in demand? Well, let's go through the steps and work out the answer to this calculation. So step 1, let's work out the change in demand. Well, here we've seen that the cars have increased from 400 to 500, so the change is 100 over the original 400, which is a 25% increase in demand. Now let's have a look at what's happened to incomes. Incomes have risen by £1,000 from £22,000. So they've risen, the change is £1,000, the original was £22,000, which is a 4.5% increase. So if we put our two answers here together, we can work out the income elasticity of demand. 25% divided by 4.5% gives us an answer of 5.6. So here the income elasticity of demand for cars is 5.6. And we call this the income elasticity of demand coefficient. What is this telling us? It's telling us that if incomes change by a certain percentage, the percentage change in demand will be 5.6 times as big. So this is quite a large response, and we would describe this as being income elastic. Now you'll notice, well, as in our example there, that our answer was positive, and that meant that incomes and demand move in the same direction. And when we have a situation where as incomes rise, demand also rises, we describe these as being normal goods because that's kind of what we'd expect. As people get richer, they buy more. So we describe normal goods where income and demand both go in the same direction. Now sometimes you'll get some products where as income rises, demand actually falls. People buy less of it as they get richer. And we call these inferior goods. And you might think of some, budget item in the supermarket. As people get wealthier, they tend to buy less of that. So here we've got things moving in different directions, and so the important thing to notice here is that our answer would be negative. So a negative income elasticity of demand means an inferior good, and a positive income elasticity of demand means a normal good. So let's have a quick summary here. So a negative income elasticity of demand means an inferior good. As incomes rise, the demand for the product will fall. So if it's positive, either of these two scenarios, then we're talking about a normal good. And if the elasticity is between 0 and 1, we're talking about inelastic. And if the elasticity is above 1, from 1 to infinity, then we're talking about elastic demand. The change in demand will be quite big to compare to the change in income. So in this video, we've looked at what is meant by income elasticity demand, the calculation, and the difference between what we call normal and inferior goods. That's it. Game over.